All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about the aftermath of the Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena fight a little bit, and a narrative that's been going around by essentially all the mainstream talking heads that is driving me absolutely crazy. Okay, and that is that Belal Muhammad basically just fumbled the fight intentionally because he wanted to prove he could strike with Jack Della Maddalena, giving no credit to JDM whatsoever. And I've got a serious problem with that. It reminds me of after Sean Strickland beat Israel Adesanya for the middleweight title, all the media talking heads, even Dana White, were all saying the same shit. Israel Adesanya looked off. I don't know what he was doing out there. I don't know if he was injured or what, but he just looked off. And it's annoying because then the fighter picks up on these excuses that they hear everyone else making for them, and they run with it, which is exactly what Belal Muhammad is doing. Okay, so we're gonna go over a few moments from his own podcast with twin brother of Jon Anik, Jason Anik, as well as a couple of other clips from notable MMA podcasts, and we're gonna talk about those as well. So let's just get into the clips.
I want to start with a quote, bully, for you. You know about this quote, right? But I just want to start with this for you, for the viewers. From the Instagram account of the musician, his Instagram handle at @VRobMorgan, right? So he said, this story from Alan Watts changed the way I view the ups and downs of my life as an artist. And by the way, Alan Watts has a British accent, so I probably won't do this justice, but I think you'll remember this, bully. So I'm just going to read this to you real quick. Quick story. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer who lost a horse. It ran away, and all the neighbors came around that evening and said, that's too bad. And he said, maybe. The next day, the horse came back and brought 7 wild horses with it, and all the neighbors came around and said, why, that's great, isn't it? And he said, maybe. The next day, his son, who was attempting to tame one of these horses and was riding it, was thrown, broke his leg. All the neighbors came around that evening and said, well, that's too bad, isn't it? Farmer said, maybe. The next day, the conscription officers came around looking for people for the army, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. And all the neighbors came around that evening and said, isn't that wonderful? And he said, maybe. The whole process of nature is an integrated process of immense complexity, and it is really impossible to tell whether anything that happens in it is good or bad, because you never know what will be the consequences of the misfortune, or you never know what will be the consequences of good fortune.
All right, now I find it crazy that Jason Anik not only has Jimmy Neutron hair, but also sounds like Jon Anik inhaled just a little bit of helium. Also, what the fuck is with these guys, man? Why do friends of fighters just surf Instagram for quotes and read them out on podcasts like they're all deep in shit? Like, oh man, I found this quote on Instagram, man. Just a little story about a draft dodger. Let me tell you how it perfectly applies to you, man. I mean, what the fuck? It reminds me of something that we covered fairly recently.
I heard this quote today while I was scrolling on social media, and it says, if you're grateful for your life, you have to be grateful for all of it, the highs and the lows. You just can't be grateful for the top if you can't be grateful for when you hit the bottom. And I think that you've had people won't say it's a pleasure, but it is a pleasure of like facing a loss before and knowing how to deal with it and understanding that, all right, how to cope with those emotions.
So I guess Jimmy Neutron's grandpa over here just went full Ronan from Bo Nichols' podcast. I'm not talking about me, Ronan. Unfortunately, that guy that we just watched shares a name with me, okay? Apparently, fighters like to keep around guys like these ones to make them feel better when they're down or something. I don't know, but I think it's absolutely fucking hilarious, okay? So let's continue.
So I guess in terms of the fight, whatever you want to talk about in terms of the fight, whether it's the game plan going in, how it played out relative to your expectations, there's so many ways I could take it. One thing I said to you on the phone is, I'm sitting behind my brother John. I'm 6 feet away from you in the octagon. Jack is underneath you in round 5. There's 2 minutes, 47 seconds on the clock, right? I can fudging taste it. Take it wherever you want. The fight, 5 great rounds, fight of the night, but I know it's a bad taste in your mouth still.
Yeah, man, I think a lot of people are going into it with like the game plan and saying, his coaches and blah, blah, blah. And for me, that's what hurts me the most, because obviously I think I have the best team in the world, some of the best coaches in the world. And we go into every fight with a strategy and idea of what we want to do. And obviously for us, what our strategy was to take down Jack. It wasn't to go blow for blow with him, brawl for brawl with him.
Okay, so immediately Jason Neutron plants the seeds of the game plan narrative, and we will listen to Belal go into more depth about that in just a little bit. But you hear him say at the end there, quote, the game plan was to take him down, not to brawl with him or go blow for blow with him or something to that effect. And before we hear more, I want to show you some things other MMA commentators have said regarding this whole narrative.
All right, let me start off with, is it possible? It's just this. I'm just throwing this out there. Is it possible that before the fight, Khabib called Belal up and said, "Look, we got to do what we got to do, but the other guy's got to be a double champ."
Why?
That
Strategically, is that you?
oh, I don't know what the game plan was.
Hey, yeah.
How to mix it?
What'd you think of the fight with Belal and Jack?
Yeah, it was 49-46, bro. I think the only round, and there were close rounds, but I think it was all JDM. JDM
I think
stole it in the fifth at the very end with punches and bunches. The only round that I see Belal was the fourth, and I was going for Belal. And I thought Belal was gonna do a number on him, but I think the wrong game plan, wrong strategy, and that shit just happened.
Why do you think he tried to stand up with him instead of wrestling him? Is the other guy's a good wrestler?
Sometimes because you start doing things at the gym and you start fucking believing your own things, and that's just what happened. It was Belal just a fucking mistake. I think 10 out of 10. I think Belal beats him.
I think since Belal was champion, I think that he did enough to keep his belt.
I love the way how you talk about that. Rampage says you got to beat the champ to be the champ.
No, he beat him.
There you go.
He beat him, Quinn.
I mean, what the fuck is this absolute nonsense? Okay, the only person who had a decent take there at all was Henry, but he did soil it by not only bringing up the game plan bullshit, but also saying that Belal beats him 10 out of 10 times. Do these guys not know any math? Okay, I understand they get hit in the head for a living, but this was like Michael Chandler. He said the same shit. He lost to Charles Oliveira 2 times and said that he still believes 9 out of 10 times he beats him. I mean, this is just basic math, people. Okay, Rampage Jackson thought Belal should have won, which is I don't even know what the fuck. That's fucking nuts. Okay, and then you've got Ray Longo hypothesizing that Khabib had Belal throw the fight. I mean, I don't know what else to say. What the fuck? And that was just 2 clips from 2 podcasts. We have, like I said, almost every mainstream MMA channel talking like this, and it's just absolutely pathetic. Okay, nobody is willing to give JDM the credit he deserves, and I'll get into what I mean by that after this clip.
But man, it's a weird moment when you're training something so much and you're getting better at something, which I think my striking has grown so much, and I always said it. And I when I was saying that in the lead up, I wasn't lying about it. When I was like, bro, I can box with him, I can strike with him. I'm not afraid to box with him. I'm not afraid to strike with him. And I went out there and I just felt good, man. There's like when they say there's a different energy when you're the champion and you gain 20% better. It's for me. I always thought I was the best in the world, and I still think I'm the best in the world. And I was like, bro, I could strike with this guy. Like, people are coming at me telling me I can't strike with him. And obviously we lost the fight, but bro, we stood toe to toe with him. And people could say whatever they want to say and do whatever they want to do. I went against the game plan. I went on my own. And at the end of the day, I'm going to live with that. But it came down to 1 round, maybe 1 exchange that could have swayed the judges one way or swayed the judges that way. So was my game plan wrong? It could have went the other way. Could it have been an easier fight? It could have. But at the end of the day, I love to fight, man.
All right, now this is absolutely pathetic. I mean, Belal just said it could have gone the other way. That is fucking crazy. I mean, I know there are a lot of people out there that think it was a close or competitive fight, and it was kinda. I think there is a difference between a close fight and a competitive fight, just a little bit, and I think there's a stronger argument for 5-0, 50-45 for JDM than there is for a 3-2, 48-47 Belal scorecard, I mean, Jack Della outstruck him every single round. He also said, quote, "It could have been easier," implying he would have just beat him handedly had he followed the fucking game plan. And this is what's driving me up the wall. Belal Muhammad shot 9 takedowns in that fight, okay? Meanwhile, everyone is acting like Belal didn't even try to wrestle. The game plan, what was it? To shoot 20 takedowns or what? I don't understand what you're saying to me. Because listen, in 19 UFC fights, I went and added all of Belal's takedown attempts and averaged them out. And on average, across 19 UFC fights, Belal Muhammad attempts 6.26, 6.25 takedowns per fight, meaning he shot more takedowns than his average in this fight. In fact, there are the same amount of fights where Belal has shot 0 takedowns as there are fights where he has shot more than 9, like he did against Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 315. So he thinks not only could the fight have been scored in favor of him, but he could have made it essentially an easy fight for him. And Belal Muhammad, the guy who shot 9 takedowns, is buying the narrative that he didn't even try to wrestle. And there's more.
And for me, my private goal was to show that I could strike with anybody, that I could strike with this guy, that I could compete with these guys anywhere on the feet or on the ground. And we achieved it.
You know, I like that you use the word private goal. And while it was a private goal, when you publicly talked about striking, I know my friend Belal Muhammad well enough to know that I said to a lot of people publicly and privately that Belal saying that out loud, I feel as though there's something in his soul that's gonna do that, right? So if you talk about sort of you doing your thing there, it doesn't surprise me. But when I want to talk about your striking, and anyone who wants to think this is biased, that's fine with me. But I had said sort of the evolution of your striking, the strong evolution of your striking perhaps maybe got you off your game plan a little bit. I talked to you about certain strikes, bro, where there's certain high leg kicks where you're sort of your flexibility looked different. Your striking looked different. I thought you landed the more powerful shots. I'm not, you come at me about a knee, but
holy fuck. Now there's a lot there, but before we get into it, I just want to get this off my chest. Otherwise, I'll be thinking about it for the rest of the video. Okay, but Belal Muhammad looks like Gazim from Aladdin. But with those glasses on, he looks like a cross between Gazim and Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys, and I just think that's very funny. But either way, there it is again. Quote, "It was a personal goal of mine to show I could strike with this guy." And what drives me crazy about this is, in my humble opinion, okay, it fucking wasn't. You were forced to strike with Jack Della Maddalena because he did such a fantastic job staying off the fence, using incredible footwork, stance switching, very rarely allowing himself to be trapped, was constantly trying to circle back out to the center. And even when Belal would get him down, which he ultimately did, I think 3 times, JDM is very good at scrambling and getting back to his feet, and he always has been. By the way, the thing that was lacking before this fight was his first order takedown defense. This is what people were criticizing him in his fight versus Gilbert Burns for. But every time Gilbert was able to get him down, Jack could usually create a scramble and get back to his feet. So even when Belal got him to the mat, he couldn't even fucking keep him there. So it wasn't that Belal wanted to strike with Jack Della Maddalena, it's that he had to strike with Jack Della Maddalena. And then you've got Neutron over there saying shit like, "I thought you landed the more powerful shots." That is just straight up dick riding, okay? Jon Anik he's penis saddling right now, and I find it kind of disturbing. So let's just move on.
I'm gonna be the guy that I'm 1 fight away from winning the belt. I'm 1 fight away from being there, man. When you're looking at that fight and you're looking how close it was, and then you look at some of these other guys who get rematches or get title shots. I'm not stupid, right? I'm not gonna sit there and think, oh yeah, I'm gonna wait for a rematch. No, it's right. I want to get back up. I want to beat one of these other guys that's the #1 contender. I want to show you guys that I am still the best in the world. I want to show them that, all right, who you gonna put in front of me, and watch me what I do.
Good luck to your next opponent, and I'm going to go there in a second, but I just want to touch on one more thing from Fight Week, right? For those who don't know Belal Muhammad as well as I do, I want to just point to 3 things during Fight Week, the essence of the man, okay? Anyone who saw Belal with Ian Gary's son Just go watch that. Just go watch Belal Muhammad. That's Belal Muhammad. Anyone who saw Belal with GSP, and forget the GOAT, welterweights, two of the all-time great welterweights, whatever it is. But you know, Belal rubbing him, saying, give me some of that GSP energy. Like, that's the essence of Belal. And then when I show up to Belal's mansion, right, trying to get in Belal's mansion, who do you think comes to the door to greet me in Belal's mansion? Belal Muhammad, right? So that's the essence of Belal Muhammad. Just want to say that there.
Wow, what an absolute sass god moment from Jason Neutron there at the end with that little wrist flick and everything. I mean, that was fucking crazy. But yeah, I don't know, man. I went and watched those clips because this guy fucking told me to, and I can't find the essence, if I'm being honest. I was searching for it using all 5 or 6 of my senses, whatever. I can't remember how many you're supposed to have, but I couldn't find it.
Best of luck, man. Let's go. It's gonna be a crazy crowd.
I'm in your house.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, man.
Can we get a picture?
Of course. Nice.
Honor to meet you, brother.
Everything goes well. Everything is sharp and
Ready. Locked
yeah.
in. Locked in.
Nice, man. That's why I like
I
to
need to
hear.
rub some of his GSP energy on me right now. I'm in his house, Canada. Let's go.
And the crowd gonna give it to you for sure.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man. Look forward to it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
Good
it
luck.
so much.
Hello?
Can you win on the feet?
We can.
Everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you more.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Enjoy.
He's the best.
And the best of luck to you, man. I mean, these are just normal fucking interactions, okay? I don't know what is so essential or whatever, full of essence about this. These are just kind of like normal-ish moments between different people. This is what I mean, though. This guy's straight up penis saddling, okay? But now we're going to get to the part of the podcast where Jon Anik joins in, okay? And I thought there were a couple of interesting moments from that. So let's take a look.
It hits hard, right? Like, my twin brother was so mean to me in the 72 hours that expired after UFC 315. I don't know that he's ever treated me. I was probably meaner to Dominic Cruz, but go ahead. Oh my gosh. Did you tell Belal about that? No.
Yeah, so
not privately or publicly.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe we should save this for the Jon Anik app. No, this is like the buried footage of Belal Muhammad and Kamaru Usman. No, there was a very spirited conversation in the hotel room, a lot of emotion after your fight with Jack between me, Jay, and Dominic Cruz. And yeah, I mean, just a lot of emotion. And your friend Jason kind of flew off the handle a little bit.
Now, I just thought it was absolutely fucking hilarious that Jon Anik completely outed his brother, not only for being a sass god, okay, but also being a complete and total crash out merchant, which I'm going to be honest, absolutely checks out. But let's continue.
But all love and all support, and it's interesting to listen to what you have to say about the fight. I like everything that came out of your mouth except Kamaru Usman. Like, what do we like? Unless there's beef that needs to be settled, right? If you are to believe what his knees are, right? And he's fighting June 14th against Joaquin Buckley, you're trying to fight him like off a loss? Like, I just, to me, it's like if you're trying to get one, right? Because I believe you're one win away. You just got to fight the right guy, and I'm not sure it's Kamaru.
No, yeah. For me, it wasn't me chasing it, right? It was me, like, if Kamaru beats Buckley, they're gonna push him ahead, and they're gonna obviously he was a former champion, and then obviously we had the beef. So only if he beats Buckley do I feel the UFC would want that fight.
Right.
For me, it's like, bro, whoever's gonna give me the title shot, that's who I want to fight.
Okay, now I included that bit there. Well, first of all, I just want to say I understand that fighters should be a little bit delusional to an extent, because if you're not, you'll probably end up being depressed, right? Like, Belal Muhammad is not supposed to just acknowledge that he will probably never get another championship opportunity again. And that, I would be willing to wager that that is the case. But of course, he's keeping the, optimistic viewpoint of I just need to get one. And Jon Anik and his brother are kind of playing into that. Whereas I think Jon Anik probably realizes that it's not going to happen. But regardless, okay, I included that clip because I thought it was funny that Jon Anik was essentially just shitting on Kamaru Usman there, okay? And I wonder if Kamaru Usman sees this, because we know he's very sensitive, how he's going to respond to Jon Anik during fighter meetings and things like that. Now, This next clip doesn't have fucking anything to do with the overall premise of this video, but I included it so we can just see UFC shilling happening in real time.
Belal, Yair getting a title shot in Guadalajara versus Volk, UFC 320?
It makes a lot of sense, right? And I think Yair, after that huge win, and the way he beat Pitbull, and like I said, man, people could say whatever they want about that first fight. That headbutt played a factor, and that the headbutt was a hard headbutt. And I think Yair now is just a different animal and a different person. And man, I hope he gets it.
John?
There are a lot of inconvenient truths of the fight game, and not that I'm peeling back the curtain, right? But a lot of matchmaking and forecasting is such that the thought process is, what does that division look like if Yair Rodriguez is the champion versus Movsar Evloev, right? You already have Alexander Volkanovski as the champion. You know what his relative drawing power is and how he moves needles, and he's in a nation that cares about MMA greatly, obviously, right? But Movsar Evloev is 9-0 in the UFC. I shit you not, I went to UFCstore.com today and bought a Movsar Evloev t-shirt because I didn't know what else to do, right? Oftentimes I support fighters by purchasing their merchandise, and I love Yair, right? I do think he's live in the rematch with Volkanovski. To your point, like, you know, I have an affinity for him. I finally got that Instagram follow after years, which made me very happy. But yes, the politics of the game are such that it's not so much that Movsar's 9-0 with all decisions and Yair is, you know, the most dynamic guy in the division, but when they forecast what a guy's potential might be as a champion, you know, a knockout artist from Mexico that's bilingual and looks like Yair and checks every single goddamn box, you know, here's your rematch, son. Let's see what you can do with it.
Now, like I said, that was just straight up UFC shilling, and honestly, more so from Belal than even from Jon Anik, who is obviously an actual employee of the UFC. But Belal Muhammad said that it makes sense, which it doesn't really. Whereas at the very least, Jon Anik kind of went into why it's happening and is being a little bit more honest with the fan base. Yeah, he's getting it because of, you know, the market that the UFC would love to have a champion from and all the rest of it. But it just, this, you know, after listening to the entirety of this podcast and then that bit there, I was just like, God damn, these motherfuckers are out of touch. Okay, either way, let's get to the last clip.
Makes a lot of sense. Thanks for coming on. Any final words for Bully, John, before you get out?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, you know, there's a lot of sort of emotion in this fight game, and you can't help but develop interpersonal relationships. So I think you know how much love and care there is for you in this room. And, you know, the other side of this fight for me, whether I call it down the line or not, is just that my call is not objective, you know, and thankfully when I watch it back, I think in all respects, it was a pro Jack Della Maddalena call when the moment's called for it. But just so much appreciation for the way you carried that fight week, the way you handled that pay-per-view in Montreal as the undisputed champion, the man around whom the fight card was built. And, you know, I know Dana believes in you. I know much is made in the public, but I can tell that you and Dana have a definite kinship between you. And I'm just excited about the future, man. I really am. I think you're a young 36 or whatever you are. And, you know, keep lining up the pins and keep knocking them down, man. I can't wait for the next one.
All right, buddy.
My brother.
Peace out.
Love you, bro.
Love you, Belal.
Okay, now I included that last bit in there just for a little bit of redemption. Okay, I do appreciate Jon Anik acknowledging his bias and that no matter how he called the fight, he is aware that it's not totally objective because he is such good friends with Belal. You heard him say, "I love you, Belal," at the end of that clip there. And so I do kind of appreciate it. And I'm going to say I largely agree with what he said about going back and listening to his commentary specifically, and he thinks that he largely did an okay job calling pro Jack Della Maddalena moments when the moment called for it. And I do agree with that. I think that Daniel Cormier was more egregious than anyone on that night in terms of commentary. I think at one point he suggested that it could have been 3-1 for Belal, which is absolutely fucking nuts. Again, I understand there are going to be people that think it was competitive or close, because it kind of was, but that doesn't mean it could have gone either way. And the same people that are arguing Belal Muhammad got robbed or that Belal Muhammad could have gotten the nod are the very same people who would argue that Magomed Ankalaev dominated Alex Pereira, which I don't think is true. I do think Magomed won that fight, but it's the same people. And yes, I'm talking about MMA Joey. Okay, that fucking idiot. But either way, yeah, dude, I'm just sick of the narrative that the only reason Belal Muhammad lost that fight was because of a game plan issue, and he decided to do it. He fucked his coach's game plan, and he wanted to go out there and show that he could strike, and because of it, he lost his belt, when in reality, in my opinion, the reason he lost his belt is because Jack Della Maddalena had an even better game plan to stifle Belal Muhammad's game plan number one, game plan A, right? Jack using footwork, stance switching, in and out of the pocket, not allowing himself to be cornered, not allowing himself to be trapped up against the side of the fence, which we know that that's where these guys like to go for takedowns. I know that Belal Muhammad and Islam Makhachev are not largely from the same team, but Islam Makhachev has way more success taking guys down up against the fence, and we saw that in the Dustin Poirier fight. Poirier would allow himself to get backed up against the fence, and then he would get taken down. Jack Della Maddalena did not allow that to happen, and that is why, in my opinion, Belal Muhammad was forced to strike with Jack, not that he wanted to, okay? So I just wish these fuckheads would give the guy some credit, because we see this happen a lot when there is an upset. Like I mentioned earlier, Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland is a good example of this, where people are like so flabbergasted at what they just witnessed that they come up with excuses for the fighters themselves, and it just drives me fucking crazy, because then the guys that deserve credit don't end up getting it, okay? Either way, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, I would greatly fucking appreciate it, okay? We're almost at 20K, but I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.